Good evening, everybody. Welcome to the Tuesday, June 10th, 2025 meeting of the New London Planning Board. We're going to go ahead and get started. Just a reminder that you are being recorded, so you can watch this later to your delight. We're going to start off with a tree cutting in the Conservation Overlay District, Beth Greenwald, and for 316 Bog Road. If you can just come up to the mic and hit the button so that it goes from red to green.
And if you're good, I can give the presentation since I met with Josh. Does that work for you guys? Okay. So I met with the Greenwald's contractor yesterday, Josh Bartlett from Chippers. He couldn't be here tonight. It's pretty straightforward, so I told him, especially with the owners in the audience, that I could give the synopsis. So though this house is on Messer Pond, these trees are not actually in the waterfront buffer. They are in the wetlands buffer to the sort of west side of the property. And so the rules are a little different there, where you don't actually provide a point count in the wetlands buffer. It's simply that the planning board approves, and if you thought it was necessary, replanting. But I will say this is one of the most well-vegetated waterfront lots we have in the town, and they have put substantial effort into to doing that with new construction. So you can see in the photos here that there are some pretty dead trees right here, and then this one's a little harder to see. I'm not sure up on the screen if you can, but it's right about here. You can see the lack of leaves. I think all three make sense to approve, and I don't think any replanting is necessary. They are all in well-wooded areas already, and then the areas that are not wooded are well-vegetated.
Thanks, Adam. Are there any questions from the board on this?
No.
Anyone from the public? Questions, comments? Okay. So I would need a motion.
Oh, and actually, before we do that, could you appoint David to Mary
thank
Ann
you.
and
Yep.
Charlene to Paul Gorman?
You heard that? Okay, great. You're good? Thanks.
Second.
Okay. Well, actually, we need a motion.
Pardon me?
Can you make the motion?
Oh, sure, I thought.
Yeah, no.
Sure, I'd be more than glad to make the motion.
Okay, motion and seconded. All in favor? Aye. Any abstaining or against? Okay, thank you.
You're all set.
Okay, thanks. So next up, we're going to talk about the final site plan review for Bar Harbor Bank and Trust at 331 Main Street and 0 Gold Road. This is the Montessori, the Strawberry Blossom Montessori School. They've been here before to talk to us a little bit, and this is the final site plan review. Who would like to start us off?
Good evening, Planning Board and community members in attendance. I am Liz Niehaus, the founding teacher leader of Strawberry Blossom Montessori, and I'm excited to present our final plans to you tonight. I have a wonderful team of professionals and town support here as well. So just to introduce our school once again, Strawberry Blossom Montessori is working to found a community-embedded preschool for children ages 1 to 6 in New London. The school is anchored in the values of connectedness and growth and will offer accessible and equitably accessed Montessori early learning for families of all income levels. Our school will be a licensed child care center. It will have the capacity to enroll 36 children. That includes 12 toddlers, ages 14 months to 3 years, and 24 primary children, ages 3 to 6 years. 6 teachers will be employed at the school, and the demand for the school already far exceeds the spots that we have available. The school calendar will be consistent with the Kearsarge Regional School District, running from September to June. And the hours for the preschool include an 8 a.m. to 3:30 p.m. school day with limited aftercare until 5 p.m. These hours have been chosen to bookend the hours of the elementary school, so pickup and drop-off times are staggered. In terms of traffic, the morning business traffic that will be generated by the school will include 30 cars from 8 to 8:30 a.m., Monday through Friday, and in the afternoon, 24 cars from 3 to 3:30, and 6 cars from about 4:45 to 5 p.m. outside of these drop-off and pickup hours, there will be no business traffic generated by the school, and the school will not generate traffic during July and August. In terms of parking on the lot, in the site plan, the teaching staff will utilize the back 6 parking spaces. 7 spaces plus 2 ADA spaces will be available for families to use, in addition to 4 temporary parking spaces that are included along the west side of the building for drop-off, as well as a bypass lane. We've worked really hard on mitigating traffic, so if the temporary spaces are full during drop-off, families will be instructed to use the bypass lane to drive around and to park in the back, ensuring that no cars will queue on Main Street. And additionally, our multiple traffic studies on Main Street and Gould Road confirm that cars will be able to easily and safely turn into and out of the school lot without adversely affecting the neighbors in the area. So just to close out, our school vision is for young children to be deeply connected to the land and to the community and to each other. And a Main Street location in New London's commercial zone will place young children at the heart of our community. Childcare has existed on this block in the past, and we're just bringing it back. It also will allow preschool children walkable access to our amazing civic resources in New London, like the town library, the green, the nature trails, the churches, and the senior centers. And these deep connections to the community will nourish children in these critical years of development. I'm going to pass it now to our architect, Anthony Mento, and he's going to speak more about the design of our building.
Yeah, just speak into the mic.
Thank you. And I think the community needs a program like this. I need to have more information about the entrance into the back of the bank. Are you going to be coming in from which side of Pleasant Street? Because where the bank is, I personally think that that's almost a 5-way intersection, and I want to know, the people that are going to drop off the kids, are they coming from, let's say where the church is, and then making a right, or are they coming up from Spring Ledge and making a left, getting into that? Because that's a huge traffic area, and for seniors, it's a real problem to me for being safe walking on the sidewalks here. So I need a little bit more information about the traffic flow, please.
Sure. Thank you, David, for your question. And I understand your concerns about that intersection on Main Street and Pleasant. The entrance to the school is only off of Main Street. So there's no Pleasant access to the school. That access that is currently there will be redesigned. So no cars will be entering via Pleasant. Adam was able to just pull up the site plan here. So you can see on the left is Main Street and on the right is Gould Road. So it's a one-way drive that we've designed. All cars will enter from Main Street. And in our traffic studies during the school pickup and drop-off hours, we've studied that a car, let's say, comes, I've included the data there, but a car is going west about every 14 seconds, and a car is coming east about every 17 seconds. So it's plenty of time for cars to make either a right-hand or a left-hand turn into the school. But all cars will come from Main Street, and all cars will exit onto Gould Road.
Thank you. So when you enter into, from Main Street, you're entering, are you going to have one way in from coming, let's say, from the church down, you make a right, or are you going to be able to come up from Spring Ledge and then cross over Main Street and get into the parking lot?
Yes, so you can come east or west on Main Street and turn into the school.
Okay. I think that's a hazard thing when you have to cross Main Street to go into the bank. That's just more congestion on Main Street. It would be nice to be able to have it one way into the bank only, not both ways. Okay, I'll be quiet.
Yeah, so we'll let him, maybe we'll hold the other questions till after the presentation, but we can come back to that if that works.
Thank you.
Yep, thanks, David.
Good evening, all. Thank you for having us. My name is Anthony Mento. I'm with the architectural firm Shear McChrystal Paulson. We were once here in town for years and years, but we are now in the city of Concord. We are happy to be working with Liz towards her vision of creating a Montessori school here in the town. And what we bring to you is a very well-designed and thought-through project that is within the height restrictions. It is scaled such that it works with the other businesses and buildings around on Main Street. Our building, as you see here, is clapboard, a mix of horizontal clapboard siding and vertical board and batten style siding with traditional operable single hung, double hung windows with casements. The siding is proposed to be painted a red russet color. Doesn't really project well on the screens here. With the trim will be a cream color. We have the majority of our lighting in this project is by way of kind of traditional post lighting that is along the driveway and along the sidewalks. And I'll let the civil engineer speak to the lighting and all. They are all relatively low, probably 12-foot high post lights that are all cutoff fixtures. They're all night sky compliant. They have shields to be able to control any horizontal distribution of lighting on the site. There's a small cupola that has been added since the last time I think you've seen the project, more towards the Main Street side. That will have a small interior illumination, traditional of most schoolhouse cupolas. It's not going to illuminate out so much as there'll be a light inside shining up, so the cupola kind of illuminates a little bit. The form is very traditional in New England architecture, and we feel it's in keeping with the community and the kind of the aesthetics that the town has. Happy to answer questions that you may have, and if I cannot answer them, I will absolutely get an answer to you shortly. Thank you. I'm going to turn it over to Aiden, please.
Yep.
Okay. Hi, everyone. My name is Aiden Schlotman. I'm with TF Moran. I'm the civil engineer for the proposed Montessori school here. I'm happy to discuss all the civil engineering aspects of it. I'm going to take this, as I learned last time. So, as you know, this is the lot right down the road. It currently acts as overflow parking for the existing Bar Harbor Bank that's there, with an existing driveway access on the street. Thank you. Additionally, this parking lot is served by an additional entrance that is on Bar Harbor Bank itself, but the proposed conditions will completely remove that access there, and the proposed lot will only be serviced by one driveway. Here's our site layout plan. There's an existing driveway there. We'll be shifting it up just a little bit. It'll serve as one-way traffic into the lot itself. Cars will enter. There will be some stacking spaces for kids to drop off or pick up their students. And then if it does build up there, we did have a bypass parking lane to bypass, and then they can safely park in some of this overflow parking where they can pick up their kids and not have traffic back up onto Main Street itself. I'll keep going. So we did make sure the property has drainage. Currently, it really has none. It all kind of overflows to existing catch basins that are on either the road or the neighboring property. So we did our absolute best, made sure that any volume going to these catch basins as we are reusing them, there's going to be no increase in volume, and the flows, there'll be no increase in flows essentially. There'll be a small retention pond towards the front that'll just help kind of hold water, make sure the flows don't increase to any of the neighboring lots. There's absolutely no increase in flow or anything to any neighboring lots, anything like that. And all runoff will be serviced, and then it'll enter the existing catch basins where they currently drain to as of right now. So the only real difference from what you guys saw, we had a discussion with Eversource, and we just had to move the utilities to enter the front of the building here rather than the back, just to make sure that they're able to get to it easily. And we have a small meter disconnect off to the side of the property. Yeah, and we'll be using the existing utility pole and the no one need a transformer. It'll use the it'll install a new meter disconnect, and then all the wires will go underground, and water utility will all go underground from there. So just to reiterate, as you can see, flows from the house, or sorry, the school itself will be captured, and then it'll run off, and then it'll drain to a little catch basin here. It'll enter this drainage manhole, and then it'll go to the existing catch basin. And then all other runoff from the front half of the property will enter that retention basin where it'll drain to that manhole again, and then to the existing catch basin. And then all other flow from the back half of the lot will enter drainage swale that's there and it's existing. We're offering to re-up it a little bit, make it new, make it so it ensures that it properly does its job, rather than just kind of a divot in the ground. It'll be have a pipe underneath it, which will help catch water and redirect it to a catch basin that's right off the street on Gould Road. Alrighty, here's our lighting plan. We are offering these dark sky acorn lampposts. They allow for really a kind of a low profile light that kind of makes sure that it doesn't fully project and cause a lot of light pollution that would interject onto neighboring properties, and make sure that they really just keep with the feel of the property. It's not these big, bulky, giant, ugly looking overhead lights. It's these keeps with the style of the lot itself, and keeps this whole entire feel of the lot maintained. Alrighty, the rest is just details. Swap back to just the site layout plan. I did want to point out, we can stay on this one. We heard you on the last one. We appreciate you guys are willing to work with us with that landscape buffer that's near the road. We did want to say we appreciate that, and we were able to sneak it a little bit further away than what we initially had in our concept, and we were able to do away with the retaining wall there. We still need a little bit of relief from that as the lot's rather tight, but we were able to get a little more room there than initially we had in our conceptual hearing. All in all, that seems to be the full gist of it. There is an existing kind of access there, and we are proposing just to redo that area there. There's a culvert that goes underneath. We're just gonna take out the culvert, put a new one in its place, make sure everything is in working order so our system doesn't fail anywhere along the way from old parts. Alrighty, that's my spiel. I'm happy to turn it over to Jana now, so she can discuss some landscaping aspects of it, talk about screening. That's all right.
Do I have to hold it? It's on. It's green.
Yeah, you should be all set.
Okay, thanks. Hi, I'm Jana Bryan. I work with Julie Moore Mystery Design Studio. I'm a landscape architect and also a parent of Montessori preschool kids. So this project is really means a lot to me, and I think I have a good understanding of what the site needs as far as the workings for the school. And you can see we have a rendered plan, this colored rendered plan that's on the screen, as well as a drafted plan that we're starting to develop for plantings. And the rendered plan shows not only the site property around the border, but I just want to mention the majority of the lot is designed for the children's enrichment time outside, and it's divided into two compartments for the primary students and the toddler grades to provide safety, and we've reviewed all kinds of needs for the function and the programming that'll happen there. So a majority of the lot is fenced in, and as an important piece, the drop-off, there is a gated fence near the parking area for pickup at the end of the school day. Liz can speak more about the programming of all that, but those things are being considered as we're developing the design. And as far as the perimeter planting plans so far, the difference between the rendered plan and what's been drafted after we've done the engineering is addressing the front property line along Pleasant Street, Main Street, sorry, to better kind of carry that street front across the whole, like along Main Street itself. So we have a low hedge, probably herbaceous material, something that can withstand snow plow and bloom anyway and not be damaged with that kind of winter damage that happens. But we'll create a continuous line across the facade of the building and also not screen the building as well. So we want to have enough visual kind of accessibility to enter the site. But we are thinking of a couple of significant trees that sort of anchor either end of this, the driveway area, and that could be something that, it could be a small shade tree or a flowering hawthorn or another tree that might have a variety of interest throughout the year, and also kind of anchor the structure into the landscape, so it's not just a building standing by itself. So we're looking for some height in those areas, so I'm glad we've gained a little more space on that side. And also have a hedge in there in between in the narrow area that will provide a buffer between whatever happens on the bank lot and our driveway area. And that would probably also need to be material that withstands winter snow removal and all of that kind of activity. Further down along the parking area, there's a little more room for more of a privacy screen, so we're thinking a taller hedge material and allow a break for that easement or that access that's towards the end of the lot. We're also aware of the drainage catch basin structures that are in place, so we'll be planting those with rain garden sort of plants that are also provide an opportunity for the students to learn a little bit about those those ecologies and that sort of system there. We're also being pretty sensitive to the other property line that has significant large trees that do shade the property, and wanting to be careful how we're addressing that and interacting with that area so those trees aren't damaged. They're really important to the character of the site. Anything else you'd like to know about that from the landscape?
We can start from there. Are there any questions from the board about the landscape plan before we?
I believe this rendered set also has some images of the character of the garden itself, but I think that was, maybe it's not included? No, earlier designs that we're still working on. Thanks.
Excuse me, Adam, that colored one, did that come in recently? I can't find it.
An updated version did, but I'm looking for Aiden wherever he is. Okay. But there was one in the original as well.
Yeah, I think it was included in the original submittal. Of all of it, it was definitely there in the conceptual submittal, but I believe it should have been in this one as well. Rather large collection of documents, so maybe we got
Okay, thank you for that, Aiden. Are there questions from the board? I just asked about landscaping, but about anything that we talked about, whether from the architect or civil engineer, do you want to?
Sure. So I have department head review. Also, maybe a procedural question for Liz or Aiden. But I know that Aiden and I had talked about the preliminary versus the final. And I guess from a conversation I'd had with Liz, my understanding was we were ready for final. It does sound like some of the plans are not solidified yet from a landscape perspective. So is it really not? Because you mentioned you were still drafting some landscape plans. So maybe we're not at final.
In terms of the detailed planting plans, yes, we're still working on those, and seeing that we want to take our time and really think carefully about that. And the construction timeline and process, we're hoping to have time to think through that carefully.
So with commercial properties, the landscaping is part of the site plan review, so it needs to be, pretty set in stone.
Well, I'm speaking mostly about the school programming areas, not the areas that we've submitted so far with this setting. This is the placement of the structural pieces, as shown in this plan, is final, yeah.
It's basically 90% done
so-
with detail.
Yeah, it's sort of the
Sorry.
details within the garden.
Just introduce yourself and speak into the.
Yeah, so, go ahead.
Okay. So I guess that'll be up to the board to determine if they're comfortable with that. Obviously, that works into what screening is provided because it's on the lot line. So typically, we would have all of the landscape in place with a permanent plan of what we have for enforcement and long-term. So I guess that's one thing for the board to consider as they ask their questions. I do have the reports from the department heads that I met with a couple of questions and concerns. These are probably more for Aiden. Let me just get back to the overall site plan. For snow storage, Aiden, can you tell me the percentage of the snow storage area relative to the impervious?
So I'm not sure if I would be able to give you an exact percentage. We did mark off really this entire area for the back lot, which in our opinion is plenty of space to really kind of come through and pack all the snow in that little back area there. The full ratio of impervious to snow storage, I couldn't necessarily give you an exact number on that.
Okay, our site plan review regulations require 20%, so we need to make sure that that's been met.
Sure.
In discussions with the Public Works Director, there were some concerns about where the snow storage is located. That is a long run to push the snow and then have to immediately make a 90-degree and pile it all in one spot that will drain closest to the town road and the drainage infrastructure. So I think that's probably something that we should look at a little bit closer.
Sure.
The site plan regulations do allow for an agreement with a snow removal company to actually come in and take the snow away. And you could provide us with that contract that you have with them. Just obviously this is a fair amount of surface area in a relatively small space. You know, it's hard until we have the percentage to say if it's meeting the 20%. You know, I think the front was labeled snow storage area 2 up at the entrance, so maybe with the 2 together it is. It looks like it would be close just by, you know, looking at area.
Sure.
But if you could get us that percentage, that would be great.
Yeah.
Do you have the percentage of landscaped open area?
I believe we do. So open area, we have right at the 15,246 square feet
Okay.
of open space, which is the 35%.
And is that landscaped open space, or is that including like the sidewalks and things? Because it just says open, but our requirement is for the landscaped open space?
Yeah, I believe, I mean, landscape area is pretty much anywhere that it can fit. So I believe that's the entire area. There's not
And
going to be a whole lot of just
It's more just
grass.
because if you can't meet that, we have to grant you a waiver.
Mhm.
And so just having those exact numbers.
Sure.
And then one minor thing, I just noted that it still has a note about the pergola overhang on the site plan, which I think has been changed to the porch. So maybe in successive drafts,
Gotcha.
just update that. Let me see. And then just general for the board, the abutting easement on the Chadwick property that was formerly the Berger property where the daycare operated. I understand there's some negotiations going on. We would need to put any condition on an approval that the negotiations have been agreed upon to a recorded easement agreement to require the left-hand turn, because as of right now, that property has the ability to go left or right. But obviously, if we're approving a parking lot that is one way, we need to make sure that there's not a conflicting access point there. So I think those were all of the department head comments.
Sure.
Thank you. I think the percentages also, because if you don't know them, you can't grant waivers.
Yeah, go ahead. Go ahead if you want to go, Paul.
I'm unclear. I don't know if Adam was referring to this or not. If he was, I obviously don't understand it. But the site plan I'm looking at has an access easement from the other property. And I believe it says here, it's hard to read, that it's going to be gravelled over so that they can come through there, or?
Yeah, as of right now, it's gravel. There's kind of a gravel entrance, really, with a culvert underneath it. When we replace the culvert that's underneath it, we're going to re-gravel that kind of grassy area or what would be grassy area, just to make sure that they have access for a construction, or not even just a vehicle to be able to cross, rather than having just a dirt crossing there.
So
the con-
is this a constant easement? They could use it at any time?
Yeah, it's an easement. They have the right to use it, and they have the right. They're more than welcome to do so.
Okay,
And currently, their easement gives them the ability to go to Main Street or to Gould Road.
right. Follow-on question, I guess. I assume from the presentation that you don't want parents turning left there and going out on Pleasant. Is there going to be something that prevents that?
Not necessarily prevents. I'm sure Liz can talk more on it, but okay. Yeah, there'll be a gate there, so it won't actually be accessible.
Okay. Good. I had one other question, and not that important, but you were talking about the lamps, which I hadn't seen before, and I couldn't find the detail in this package. But are the bulbs totally underneath the cap?
Yep.
Okay.
Yep. I can.
But it doesn't
Got it up
limit.
there.
Night skies and so on.
So, Paul, you can sort of see the flat pack light up in the hood here, up on the screen. I don't know if
Yeah.
it's as far as it'll let me zoom in.
So there's nothing that limits the horizontal movement of the light? It's just,
It does a bit. It's more kind of like a traditional lamp where
Okay.
it's kind of a cone outwards. But yeah, nothing that hinders the horizontal too greatly.
okay, thank you.
And they are the dark sky compliant certified.
Okay.
Thanks, Paul. Yeah, go ahead, Janet.
With regard to drainage, I'm assuming that our Public Works Director has signed off on this. Are you looking at what is already there that may need to be replaced? Are you aware of, we don't have good drainage on Main Street, so I would hate to see it impacted negatively on any of the abutters.
Yeah, so as of right now, it's in use. And they're not necessarily on our property fully. So while we are reusing them, we're making sure that they're getting used as they are now. That we're not sending any extra water there. We're not sending any extra velocity of water there. The speed of the water is going to be the same that's going in there, and the amount of water is going to be the same that's going in there. We're even really decreasing the amount of total impervious on the area by a bit. So while these are there, we're definitely making sure. And during construction, there is two kind of pipes that run along the property. We located those and realized that after construction, they were going to not have enough cover, so we're going to have to lower them. So we will be looking at the manhole, and if it's, the catch basin that's on the neighboring property, and if it's in horrible shape, obviously that would need to be addressed because we wouldn't be able to connect to it at all.
Okay, all right. And I have a landscaping question. I love the idea of trees, but I worry that once they get to a substantial size, that when you're sitting there looking down Main Street either way, that even though you're entering that way, that there might be an impediment to what you can see on Main Street with regard to traffic.
Thank you for sharing that concern. I think we would not want to inhibit, we would not want to add anything that's going to make it more difficult to see into the property or any other neighboring, up and down the street. So that's why we're staying with either smaller trees, like a understory size tree or a small shade tree, just to provide some shade to the structure, to the building itself. And most likely, the one towards the front of the school will be in keeping with the size, the facade of the buildings, so we're not intending to obscure the building or obscure,
Okay,
yeah.
all right, good, thank you.
Before you, just looking at that, I had one question. Sorry, just trying to find the color one again in one of these documents.
Sorry. Yeah, the facade, the streetscape on the colored rendering is outdated compared to the.
Okay, that's what I was going to ask. The tree
Yeah.
looked like it was in a different spot.
Yeah.
Okay. And then I'm not sure if this is you or not, but the sign, somebody just explaining the sign said it was illuminated. I just want to make sure that that's downcast illuminated, not an internal illuminated sign. Okay. And do you have a mock-up of the sign yet? Was it in here? I didn't remember.
There are two signs on the site. One building-mounted sign, and on our elevation, we have a mock-up of a panel, a carved sign with raised letters. A colored decorative element is the logo of Strawberry Blossom, and we do propose it being illuminated from above in the vicinity of its location, downcast lighting only underneath the soffit. The second sign is a sign that is a site sign near the roadway off of Main Street when you come in. So that'll have down decorative lights as well on both sides. So that sign is going to be designed by a sign company that Liz is working with. We don't have a exact mock-up of that, but we know the proportions that we're proposing, and it's in the site plan package.
I have a question.
Yeah, thanks.
For Aiden, you said two things. One, that you would be adding drainage, and also that you would be using the current catch basins, but there would be no increased runoff. So where's the drainage that you're adding?
Sure. So if you see in the front, right here, we're proposing a detention basin there. It'll be kind of stone with a drain underneath. It's designed to kind of hold water and allow it to drain slowly. It'll drain slowly into the drainage manhole that we have there, and then that drainage manhole will then flow to the catch basin where all the water, as of right now, is currently going. If we designed it, worst case scenario, there is an overflow catch basin in there, just in case we get a crazy storm. It'll overflow into that catch basin that's there, and then flow into the existing catch basin there, rather than overflowing and then dumping out into the street.
Can I ask another question, please?
Yeah, go ahead, I was going to say.
So, rethinking about what may concern might be, I look at Main Street, the congestion, the sidewalk for the kids going to school. The elementary school starts around 8:30, at the same time as your school going to start. There's going to be buses. I would hope that you would think about, as they come down from the east, they make a right into your entrance, not coming the other way where they have to cross the street. Kids are going to use that sidewalk. There's going to be transportation. I have concerns about Main Street as far as safety and congestion. And so I just, hopefully you might think about the one way into it coming from the east, one way to the right, and not people going to cross the street and go into the entrance. That's all I'd like to have you think about. Thank you.
So David, they do have a DOT-approved driveway access for a two-way driveway here. And so that has been granted. Obviously, Main Street, Route 114 is a state road. It's difficult to constrain properties to no left-hand in if you're not providing a turnaround point, because presumably somebody's going to live on that end of town and need to drop their kid off to daycare. If there was a roundabout just past this and you could go around a roundabout and stay on a public road, that could be something that might be usable. I think in this scenario, it would be challenging to not provide a turnaround.
Additionally, for the school, there's times where cars kind of build up on Gould Road itself for the neighboring school. So it's a road that's already getting so much traffic. If we tried to have all the cars from our school also join on and stack on that, it would create plenty of problems. But as of right now, it's predicted to really create 27 extra trips in the morning during peak hours and 26 extra trips in the afternoon for peak hours, which is around an extra trip every 2 to 3 minutes. So kind of in the grand scheme of things, it's, in our opinion, it's the road there and the infrastructure there is built to handle it. I appreciate your concerns. We are making sure that the driveway itself does have the proper sight distance when you're turning in. There's not going to be a parallel parked car 2 feet away from the driveway entrance where if a kid's crossing the street, you're not able to see it. There's going to be adequate sight according to DOT regs to make sure that cars pulling in have enough time to see if anyone is trying to cross there, and they can slowly make sure they stop for them.
I just want your kids and all the kids safe.
No, I appreciate that. That's what we're here for. We're making sure that everybody's happy,
Thank you.
everybody's safe.
Thanks, David. Thanks, Aiden, as well. Are there other questions from the board?
Tim,
Yeah, go ahead.
would it be possible if we did an on-site visit and so we could all be there and understand the ebb and the flow and exactly how this is all going to play out? I think, in my mind, it would be something that I would really appreciate doing, just so that we all were on the same page as far
Yes.
as how it's going to go. I think the whole idea is fantastic. I mean, I'm really excited about the school. I just want to make sure that everything else pertaining to it works out for everyone, like Dave said.
Absolutely.
I know that there's a lot of people involved here, and I'm just trying to figure if we could get them involved as well as us meeting down there for a half an hour or so, just sort of walk through it, look at the plan.
Site visits are certainly a possibility, and they are open to the public. They are a different format versus, pretty soon the public will have its opportunity to weigh in this meeting tonight. And on a site visit, that doesn't happen until you get back to a meeting because it can be difficult for minute taking, but public is welcome to attend. And that's something that, the board can certainly talk about. And if they would like to do that, we can talk about how we want to schedule that. Our next meeting is not until July 22nd. So we would have some time to get a site visit before that or earlier that day. I do think we need before we would be able to actually vote on an approval, we'd need to know the landscape open space percentage and the snow storage percentage, because if those are less than what the requirement is, we're going to need to grant a waiver for a specific percentage amount.
Sure.
And I think, I would like to hear the board's opinion on the landscape plan, but I think that is relatively important to the property. I do have one more landscape question, but maybe get some thought on that first, or?
Yeah, that's fine.
Okay.
Yeah, I am kind of leaning that way as well for the landscape plan, but what do others think on that?
Yeah.
Yeah. Are you guys okay with that?
Could you state what the issue is?
We don't have the completed landscape plan for a commercial property, so in order to approve something, we really need that full plan. At least that's the assertion. We have some leeway, right? Or not much?
Yeah, I would say it would be atypical to approve something conditionally without, when the board's role really is to review the built environment and the landscaping and the drainage. And so to, even though part of this landscape plays into the sort of play space, and I understand that's somewhat unique, it is part of the site plan. So it's a bit more significant than something I would traditionally recommend a condition to submit a finalized landscape plan without further review.
I just want to make sure that if we're doing this, we're, number one, it's important. I agree it's important. But I think we owe it to them to specify everything that we need to see. I mean, are we talking about in-ground playground equipment?
Merciless. Sorry, a lot of people. There's not any actual like traditional playground equipment, correct? It's a more natural play space.
And what are, a lot of playgrounds now have special ground cover, or, you know, whatever they call it, matting or safety thing. I think if that's there, then it may play into the amount of impervious area too. So I don't know, we haven't gone into that, but I asked the question so that you're fully aware.
So I'll break it into what's inside the fence as the play space for the children and what's outside the fence. The outside the fence plan is 100% done. We have an idea of where the trees and the shrubs and native plants and bulbs are going. That's very clear and set, and we can speak more about varieties of plantings, and we're happy to do that tonight. Inside the fence, the colored rendering does show the surfaces. So you'll see that there's a small, in this plan that's up now, there's a small hardscaped path. And then outside that, in the colored rendering, you can see where there's mulched area. So mulch is an absorptive surface approved by child care licensing. So if there's any type of climbing structure or children are elevated off the ground, you need an absorptive surface, as you mentioned. Mulch qualifies as that. So there's a tiny hardscape, a lot of mulch, and then the rest you'll see are green beds where we'll be planting into the ground and we'll be planting vegetables with the children. Other areas will have native plants that are full of a lot of texture and aroma. In the back, you'll see that we have put in some apple trees and pear trees, and emphasis on edible plants for the children. And then a meadowed area where we propose for our snow removal that would also have a lot of spring bulbs in it. So our landscaping plan is quite significant and is well thought through, and I would love to answer more questions. And Paul, one more thing you said was about the climbing structures. In our colored rendering, you can see all the elements that will be in the play space. And it's logs that function as balance beams. It's some wooden benches that are curved with the garden. There's a little bridge that children will walk over. There's a trellis that children will walk under. It's all these natural wood elements that are rendered, and then we can resubmit the packet that shows all the images of, and I can see Emily has that right there, that has all the images.
My question was only if we're going to put this off for other parts. It looks like you're wedded to what is already in the plan. So what are we asking them to add to the landscape plan?
I don't think we're necessarily asking them to add anything. We're asking them to provide the final landscape plan. So I guess that's up to the
Well, I'm
landscape.
hearing from Liz that it is final, but I may be wrong on that.
The design, like the schematic design and the concept of what we're doing is final. The specific plants are within the fenced area, need more thought and careful placement, but the images that are in that packet are representative of the types of plants we will use, and as Liz said, they're gonna be planting vegetables and things like that as well, so it's a very active gardening space, not just a structured hedge or something like that. So the structure is in place, and the placement of the elements within the fenced-in area are in place. The hardscape path that Liz mentioned is in place. Like all of those pieces are nailed down and satisfactory to the space that the school needs and the different enrichment activities needed. It's just picking the specific plants, but they're represented in the rendered packet, the range of plants that will be used. So it is 90% done.
Okay, and just for clarification, this plan on the screen is the one that has the most up-to-date tree locations and overall planting
Yes.
locations? Okay.
Yes.
So it's sort of
And
a hybrid of the locations here, plants and the color species and things is most
image,
accurate?
the images in the rendered packet
Okay,
are compatible with this plan, as well as sort of all those squiggly lines within the fenced-in area represent the green space and the mulch space and the planted space.
Okay.
Lawn, mulch, planting, paved. Is that clear? And there are examples on the side of this plan that represent the species we are considering on the other side, that represent the species for those different planting types. The trees, the evergreen hedge, the herbaceous hedge, the catch basin area, and which is the rain garden area, and then other garden spaces.
yeah, I mean, aside from the landscape plan, I think we do need the percentages and the potential for a site visit that was brought up, I guess, getting everyone to weigh in on that. So it sounds like maybe the landscape plan is more complete than originally understood, so maybe that's not as much of an issue. Does that jive with what people are hearing?
Yeah, that's fine, but what about, are we making the minimum of snow storage?
Right,
Is that-
that stuff we need. I think no matter what, there's not going to be able to be a vote
Right,
tonight.
without that.
Yep. As far as giving them a clear path forward, just trying to look at schedules really quickly, see if this is always a weird time of year for us where we don't meet twice a month, so we recognize that there's a gap because of the 4th of July holiday, so trying to figure out if there's a time closer. So give us 2 seconds while we try to check town calendars and stuff for meeting space. And
So, Adam, I just want to clarify too, the two numbers we need are the percent of snow storage area relative to impervious, and we need the percent of landscape area to open
correct.
area. Those are the two we need.
Yep.
Yeah, we're going to we'll open it up to the public shortly, but we want to see about some logistics here in terms of if we could find a different date beyond July, whatever that is.
Liz, while they're doing it, can I just ask a random question? I think it's, number one, I think it's a great idea and everything, and we'll try to get this fixed, but you mentioned you're oversubscribed, and my interest is not in that. That's great. My interest is just asking, are you finding that the people subscribing, other than the youngest that are coming in for the first time, are coming from other facilities? And my interest is, are we underserved in this area with preschool, kindergarten, type facilities as yours?
You're asking if there's a great need for more preschool slots?
Yes, that's
Yes.
my only interest in this.
Yes, that is across the board, my findings, and I've been working on this project for 2 years now. And so not only do other local programs have very long wait lists, including Windy Hill right here, the data shows that an extraordinary amount of families in our Kearsarge, like Sunapee region, are not able, one parent needs to stop working in order to support the young children at home. And so when families fill out our form letting know they're interested in the school, we're getting a lot of people saying what a need there is for more options. And no one on our list is saying that they're at another program and that they're switching over. These are all families who currently do not have care and are so excited that another option is coming to town. And as I mentioned, we're a program that is extremely focused on making it accessible to low and middle income families as well, and we'll accept the New Hampshire Child Care Scholarship, which is somewhat unique in our area to make sure that all families are welcome.
Good. And while we're talking about, and they're still working, do you have any idea the distance that your people are coming? Are they very local, or is it to a broader extent?
Yeah, on the interest in families who have filled out that form, I would say 60% of them are New London families right now, and the other 40% are from our Kearsarge district.
Yeah. Thank you.
Thanks for that. Thanks for everybody for your patience while we try to look at some schedules and figure out space. So I hear your point about a site visit. And I saw David nod in agreement. Are others in favor of that? Okay, so just chatting with Adam, we were tinkering with the idea of doing, and we'd have to make sure it obviously works for all of you, but something on the 17th of June so that we could then meet a week later, June 24th, recognizing that otherwise our next meeting is until July 22nd. So it's a huge amount of time. So we're trying to help you move this along. So potentially, and I'm looking to the board now, could folks meet at like 9 a.m. on the 17th, which is a Tuesday on the site?
Is it the Colby Sawyer breakfast with the
I don't know that. I forgot, I just saw an email about that, but I honestly don't remember when that is.
Whatever time
What
that
time do those go
ends.
to? Could we do 10 o'clock for a site visit?
Whatever time
that-
that ends.
that too
if
late for your
we
schedule?
went
Does-
over there.
I could do,
I-
9:30 would be good, right? Okay.
I would like to suggest 8 o'clock when the kids are going to be coming to school at the same time. I'm sorry. I know, but they're going to be out, but I'm just talking, all right, but I'm just talking about, that's when we see traffic at 8 o'clock in the morning?
But I was wrong also, not to only to interrupt you, but
Okay.
I think school comes out on the 18th.
Okay.
right?
Yeah.
So they will be there.
So now I'm looking to you, Liz, and others on your team.
Can
Could
I
you-
weigh in one
Yeah,
thing?
sorry, yeah.
If we're all getting together, can we then come back and have the meeting and satisfy them if they're done? Rather than trying to get a quorum the next week?
So you're thinking continue the actual public hearing in the morning? We can't
Well,
we can't do the evening that night because we have a zoning board meeting.
You mean that night?
That night.
Right.
17th.
Well, if we already have a quorum. at
The only thing I
site
was
visit-
thinking too, that Adam and I had chatted about, is that if there are any last minute changes or challenges, then there's a week buffer between the two.
Okay, I mean,
But I hear your point.
just an idea.
Yeah, no, I hear your point. I'm looking to others on the board. Would those 2 dates, the 17th at 9:30 a.m. and then the 24th for a regular 6:30 p.m. meeting? What's that? Okay, so one person can't, I'm looking around, Janet, are you free on the 24th?
At which one, Emily? The
24th.
I can be here the 17th all day, but I can't be here the 24th.
Okay. At all on the 24th, or if we did a little earlier? Okay.
Okay, so then, Liz, how do you, and I know you haven't had a chance to really confer with your team, but does something like that work Does that help you? We're trying to do it so it's not waiting until July 22nd.
Really appreciate that. So getting to the site next week would be incredible. I really like Paul's idea as well.
Fair, fair.
Continuing when we have a quorum that day.
Yep. We just can't do it that night, so it'd have to be some sort of,
Yeah, I mean, it would have to be a daytime meeting, which recognizing we have members that work full-time jobs, so trying to keep the site visit during the day to relatively short. So I guess that's up to you guys. I'm here 8 to 4, so it's easier for me, but I can't see this room's calendar from here. I can see the public meeting calendar, but it does get leased out during the day, which, well, we can't because we have to announce tonight where it's going to be to not do. Let me jump on the rec department's calendar and see if they have any events.
Can you just give us some clarity as well as what you would be looking for in the site visit?
yep. So the site visit works so that the board goes, and unlike this kind of meeting where in a moment we will get to public comment, where it's really just the board asking questions, and then Adam takes notes and tries to compile minutes for that event so that it's not sort of, the reason we do that is so that we don't have a bunch of people asking questions and we can't figure out who said what, or in this setting we can do that better because it's on video. So really we would just want to go and maybe kind of walk through it, I suppose. That's what, I mean, Liz, or, sorry, it was your idea, right? You wanted to.
I just want to be able to visualize the whole thing as it's.
So I don't think it's anything that we're not asking for here. I think it's more just kind of like walking through the site, literally and figuratively, talking about what will be where, and sort of people can view things like sight lines and get a sense of landscaping and stuff like that. So I don't think there's any special prep required for that, am I right? You wouldn't think, for the site visit?
Sorry, I was working on
Sorry.
calendars, so it's
Sorry,
there's
no
hard to
special
keep
prep
track of.
for the site visit. It's just, I was just explaining.
No, walking through the layout of the site and physically walking through and explaining, entrance, exits. If time of day can align with one end, like David was suggesting, it's also a good time to just observe, general movement.
Forgive me for asking.
Yeah.
I don't have everybody's calendar either, or what your agenda is tonight, but we're all here. We could walk right there, look at it. It will take a moment.
Well, the other issue, though, is that we still need the, and I hear that point, we still need the percentage for the snow storage as well as the, right.
We understand that, and we can have that calculated in the town's hand tomorrow. But we're just trying to capture your minds and attention while we have you.
Yep.
Yeah.
I think we just need to figure out, like I said, I don't think delaying 1 week is unreasonable. I realize that we're all here, and I know it's a big effort for people to get here, and I don't mean to be difficult about that, but it seems to me that that would give a chance to get all the last-minute details dialed. Did you get a sense to look at that calendar?
I can't see that. I mean, I don't know for sure because I don't have access to it's literally a paper calendar on the wall in the town office. So I don't have access to the daytime reservations. I don't see anything on any of the groups that I know reserve this room on a regular basis. I guess if it happened, we'd have to boot them out for half an hour, 45 minutes. So if we could do that morning, what is your cutoff as far as needing to get to work? Okay, so if we did 9:30 at the site, yeah, I'm just trying to think through the logistics of if.
I don't think the site will take long.
Right, the question is going to be if something comes up at the site visit that needs to be addressed, obviously you can't change your plans in 20 minutes. So even if we do a immediately following site visit, continue the public hearing, I think we need to also reserve this space and also everyone's calendars for the 24th, because if something comes up, we will essentially just recess and not continue.
So does that make sense, Liz and company, so that we would try to do this at 9:30 on the 17th, so a week from today?
And I guess maybe it's quite atypical to hold public hearings in the morning. So if there's anyone here from the public that wishes to follow this process, that I guess would see it as a barrier to attend during the workday, I think that's a valid question to ask.
Okay, can I say something?
Okay. Doesn't.
Yeah, Janet I wanted to walk through the timeline then real quick, proposed timeline.
I just think that they've given us a very comprehensive set of plans, and I think it's been explained really well. And I'm not sure that walking down there and going through this is going to make a lot of difference. I don't think we're going to come up with a lot of questions. We already know what that site is like. So I think that we should just go forward and meet on the 24th and get the 2 questions we had for you all answered. But I think it's ridiculous to ask people to come up to meet on the 17th. That's just my personal opinion.
For the site visit, would you be?
For the site visit, yeah.
Take a straw poll. Yeah, I don't know. What others think? I'm just on the, you obviously know you like site visit. You like site visit, Paul? Sorry to put you on the spot.
Between the last meeting and tonight, I think all my questions have been answered, other than snowflakes.
Yeah, that's part of, yeah, that we know those are the outstanding questions. Charlene, any thoughts? Okay. Okay, so I think we can do that one, but I didn't want to be the person to not. That's what we're working on.
Every time you say something that's not recording and the recording secretary doesn't know your name, just FYI.
So, sorry, just we're trying to work through that. So, do you think we could do a morning thing on the 17th? Do you think that makes sense?
If I may,
Yeah,
I
Aiden.
think we could even say that we don't need a waiver for those things. While I can't necessarily give you the exact number, I can say that we won't need a waiver for those. If, say, that area is not necessarily 20%, we'll find the 20%. And we'll make sure that the landscape is fully compliant. It's a scenario where, while we don't have the exact number, at the same time, we're not necessarily asking for those waivers. We will be in compliance with town regs.
I appreciate the confidence, but if you're not and you need a waiver, even if you don't, we have to renotice the entire hearing, which there's a month's worth of public hearing notices that have to go out for abutters and the newspapers. And then in addition, if you're not and you say you can find it, by altering the plan and finding that somewhere else, that's a site plan change and you have to resubmit for the approval. So I think if we can continue this a week to get the answer and to be sure, that's in your best interest.
Sure.
Yeah, we want to obviously help you guys move through this as well. I'm looking to the board now again before we go to public comment. So if we said we're going to scrap the site visit, but would you still be willing to meet on the morning of the 17th?
Sure.
You're still here, right? Yep. You're good? Okay, so Liz, better than the 24th, not as great as tonight, but way better than July 22nd, right? Okay, so, and you can get together with your team and figure out if that works for having folks to come back a week from today in the morning?
Yeah, and just to be clear, I'm not hearing any concerns about the architecture, so we're talking strictly civil questions for the 17th.
Right, I didn't have any concerns myself about the architecture. It's a good question. Anyone else? No one else had any issues?
The only caveat I would say is that we haven't heard from the public yet tonight.
Right,
If someone
we have
in
to
the
get to that.
public raises
Yep.
something,
Yep.
the board could request others.
Yep, and I'd still like to do that tonight in the interest of having everything aired, to do public comment now so that people are here, want to respect that, and then hopefully it means it's a quicker process a week from now. So with that, thanks, Aiden. With that, maybe I'll turn it over and see who from the public would like to comment on this, if anyone. Questions, comments? All we ask is that you come to Jay, if you can just come to the mic and just say your name, please.
Jay McLeod. I just want to, I so appreciate the due diligence you're going through, and I think all of us understand the big picture here. The lack of preschool and childcare places is really hurting this community. And to have someone come in and to offer this sort of quality preschool and to specifically make provision for low and moderate income children, I just think it's going to be a great thing for this town. I've got a congregation that's very elderly. I understand those concerns. My dad's 92, my mom's 87. They're currently residing on Main Street, but I think there's ways around the issues around the traffic. Yeah, to both the left turn and the right turn. We as a church, we abut anything that we can do to ease any of these concerns. We are happy to do. St. Andrew's Church is completely committed to supporting this sort of project. And so I really appreciate how you've just hustled to try and make sure that this can, that decisions can be taken next week or the week after. But I think it's a fantastic proposal. And, we've had church meetings about this, and I know that the church is completely in support of it.
Thanks, Jay. Appreciate that. Anyone else from the public? Questions, comments? Yeah, just go on up, say your name.
Yeah, Lauren Snow Chadwick. I'm one of the abutters, 24 Pleasant, and I have the easement. So I'm just here basically on record where we are in general support of the project, but just want to make notice that easement is an important aspect of our property. We bought the property last August. My husband and I were local to New London. And so currently the easement allows us, and the reason for the easement originally was the lot kind of relies on the access to the parking lot, right? Mm-hmm. So we can come out of that gravel drive, which can't be minimized, that's part of the easement. So the gravel drive, without the gravel drive, there is no easement because you have to go over the culvert. And we can exit on Pleasant and exit on Gould. And my favorite move is to come in through Gould and then go through. So there needs to be a modification to our easement, and we do not have an agreement presently. But the easement is an important aspect, so just want that on record for at least 24 Pleasant. So, and any questions too, if you have an easement I can take. None? All right, thanks.
I just have excuse me.
Yeah.
Which property do you own?
24 Pleasant, so the one that is coming off the access of the easement.
Is it the house and the business?
Where we approved the gutter place
It's a
previously.
beautiful blue
Yep.
building and a beautiful garage currently.
Okay, but it was a house too, right?
Originally, yeah, it's
But you
it's
have
mixed use.
you own both of those?
Yes, I do.
Okay, thank you.
Yep.
And so for this agreement, if something is negotiated in the next week, I think keep us up to date on what that is. If it's not, if an agreement hasn't been reached, we can find a condition to make sure that it is reached before a zoning permit is issued.
Could I ask a question? Lauren, I appreciate your support. Is your snow removal an issue if that's gravel? How are you going to remove the snow in that gravel space?
It's a good question. So I don't know what the history of the snow removal was. And this year, I believe that we took most of the responsibility of the gravel drive. So we were going to have that discussion with Liz because we inherited the property without having that discussion of the previous owners. But that's certainly something that I think needs to be a point of discussion. As the snow removal discussion came on, it dawned on me. I don't think we've ever talked about that, so good question.
Thanks, Charlene. Other questions from the public?
I just want to say, because I think I've known Liz here.
Can you just say your name? Sorry.
Oh, I'm Polly Wong. I'm also the chair of the Strawberry Blossom School Board. And I think I've known Liz maybe longer than anyone in this room. I've known her for several years. And I just have to tell you that from my perspective, this is a woman who chose, of any place she could have lived in the whole world, she chose New London to raise her young family. And she has literally decided to have a lifelong commitment to the community of New London and to build her family here and to buy a home and to build the school. And I've known Liz for the last couple of years that she's been working on this. I have probably listened to her talk about this school for hundreds of hours. We go on walks and all she does is talk about it. I can't imagine that somebody took more care and deliberation and thoughtfulness and consideration. She is building her community partnerships. She is concerned about the businesses. She's concerned about the people. She's concerned about the elderly. She's concerned about the traffic. She's concerned about light pollution. She's concerned about all these things. I can't even tell you the amount of detail that she has taken to every light fixture, to every ounce. Like, maybe she doesn't know whether it's going to be a Martha Washington geranium or a regular geranium in terms of the landscape plan, but the amount of attention to detail, I think that I can't fathom when I drive through New London and I'm looking at these businesses. I don't see other businesses that put the amount of level and thought of every single square inch of this property and the consideration and the thoughtfulness. And so I honestly just think that this town is so lucky, and she spent all of her time and just significant amounts of money on all of these plans and experts. And I just really hope that everyone understands that this school needs to open up to support the families of New London in the fall of 2026. And we have a timeline in order to make this happen for this community. Thank you.
Yep, hear that. Thank you. Are there other comments or questions? Okay, hearing none. So we will need to continue this until 9:30, we said, right? 9:30 a.m. on the 17th? Is that right? You're good with that? Did you want to?
One last time, can you
Yeah.
give us clarity
Yeah.
of what
Yep.
you
We'll-
need from us on the 17th?
Yep, absolutely. We'll walk through that. So, but just establishing 9:30 on the 17th, week from today, here, and no site visit. So do you want to walk through one more time with all the sort of outstanding questions?
Sure. I'd say anything that changes between now and then, if there's updates, whatever that looks like, those. And then clarification on the percentage of landscaped open area and the percentage of snow storage area. If you don't have the snow storage area that you need, and even if you do have the snow storage area that you need, I would recommend taking a look at what the provisions for snow removal are going to be, because obviously hemorrhaging it all to one end for all of the snow to be piled there to melt right on the town road, I think we could use some additional clarity on that. But specifically looking for what is the percentage as it relates to impervious area to make sure it meets the regulation. If either of those do not, the waiver requests for whatever it is that you can achieve.
Okay, and the landscaped open area needs to be at least 35%.
Correct.
Versus we're talking impervious surface and building space.
All impervious surface, which includes buildings, yes.
Okay, and looking at the plan, I'm very
Well,
confident.
I'm sorry. The landscaped open area is 35% of the overall site.
Okay.
Right.
And looking
And
at the plan,
the
I'm very
snow-
confident we have more than 35%. We'll get you that number. But on the 17th, I will be here and our engineer will be here, but you don't need any more of our experts, correct?
That's up to you guys.
I would like to not have have them all here, so I'm looking around. I don't think we need them. Anyone else? Okay, yeah, I think that'd be great. Save some money.
I think you have to listen to what Adam said, is if you make changes,
Right.
we have to talk to them, talk
Right.
about them.
Well, we have to see them, but we don't necessarily have to.
And so maybe that's a call for you to make. If there's something in the next 7 days that changes as it relates to landscaping, then likely you need to attend. Or if it's the architectural plans, whatever it may be.
Thank you.
Yep, thank you.
Hi,
Hi.
Marsha Einstein. I'm just, can you explain what that means, open landscape versus whatever? I don't understand that.
So the site plan review regulations require that 35% of the area of the lot be maintained as landscaped open space. So any type of landscaped open space that's not built on, that's not pavement, that's not dumpster storage area, any of the other things that could be on a commercial site, it's not that. It is landscaped open space.
So that entire garden that they have, that's the entire length of the other thing is considered landscape open space?
Yes, I mean, there's a,
The microphone. Anything impervious. So that'd be 35% of impervious?
no.
35% has to be
35%
not not a structure, but it has to be like a garden or
Right.
a
Grass
playground.
or plants or
Or-
rain gardens, trees,
Oh,
any
okay.
any sort of landscaped open space that's not, so like in the garden, I think you had a small shed or something in there. So like that would get taken out of the garden landscape percentage. Even though it's within the overall garden, there's area in there that's shed.
So in that very detailed plan that shows the school on one side and then the whole huge garden all the way to the right, there isn't a square footage of that on the plan?
There is not an overall, well, there is an overall calculation of open space. And so when I asked for the clarification, whether that was the landscaped open space or whether that was open space that included sidewalks and other things that are open without a building, that's what Aiden said he needed to check the percentage calculation.
Oh, so in the site, it doesn't show the size of the walkway or like the dimension of the walkway or the size of the proposed shed?
It certainly does, but that's the burden of proof is on the applicant to provide those information, those calculations with us, and not be, measuring out, taking square footage takeoffs for every individual component of a site plan.
Okay, so you take the garden, you subtract the shed, and you subtract the pavement, and you have your answer.
And you subtract the building itself, so it's just,
Well, right,
right,
well,
so it's
building-
35%.
And the retention pond and the sign area and all of
Okay.
those things that are
All right,
not.
I just thank you.
Yep.
Thank you.
I guess that just brings up one more question. We'll be able to have these numbers to you tomorrow. Is there any way we could vote tonight conditional on those numbers?
No, because if you can't meet the minimums, then you have to reapply in order to get the site plan review waiver.
Okay. Okay.
Okay, so,
It's better to continue it than to do it all over again if there's something wrong.
yep, I hear you. We understand the urgency, and we're not trying to be indifferent to that at all. So we just want to make sure it's all done right so that there are no more issues from us to you. Any other questions from the board? Okay. From the public, last chance? Okay. Thank you, everybody, for coming. Thank you. Yep, we'll continue, but I just say thank you for working with us on this. All we need now is a motion to continue to a week from today at 9:30 a.m. here. No, just to be clear, no site visit, so we'll be here. David, you had asked, so do I have a motion for that? Second?
Second.
Okay, thank you. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed or abstaining? Okay. Thanks, everybody. Appreciate your patience.
May I just say.
Okay, folks, we're going to continue our meeting. Appreciate everybody's coming. Thank you. Appreciate it.
It's actually a little nicer. I made her show me that because it was.
All right, so we don't have too much more to get to, but do you want to just do some announcements and stuff?
Sure.
Thanks, guys. Appreciate it. Thank you. Thank you.
So nothing major to share with you. Keep an eye on the legislative updates. We're in that time of year when things are changing rapidly. As I'm sure you are all aware from your various news sources, housing has been top priority, and at least a couple of housing-related bills have made their way to the governor's desk. There has yet to be confirmation that they are going to be signed, but most notably, the accessory dwelling unit legislation has made its way to the governor's desk and has been approved in both the House and the Senate, requiring that we add detached accessory dwelling units. So presuming that the governor signs that sometime in the next couple of weeks, this is going to be sort of top priority for us. The bill gives us, as typical, until next summer for enactment because we have to go through a town meeting cycle. The parameters required within the bill there's nothing outrageous in there. I think if we dust off the failed attempt from a couple years ago, roll back a couple of the things that I think we heard were issues and talk about that, we can come into propose something that brings us into compliance relatively easily. I think we will have a larger PR front ahead of us this year than maybe the drafting takes because we've sort of done some of that legwork. But stay tuned on that. There's a variety of other housing-related bills. Some I've heard flat-out rumors that the governor is just simply not going to take action on. So stay tuned. Keep posted on that.
Adam, the timing for that would be something that we would then propose in the spring of '26.
Correct. So we would work on it in the fall and then do public hearings in 1st of January, and then it would get on the ballot. Now, I know you've all participated in the Housing Commission's process, so this does seem to have a little bit of sway in what they name as priorities. We met as a Housing Commission yesterday to start to hash out what some of those priorities will be that they want to recommend that we look at based on the feedback from the April 5th forum. Obviously, things like detached ADUs may come back to the top if we're forced to deal with them right away, and that may put some other things further down the road. But they're working on that process, and they're still hoping to have a late summer, early fall sort of report out to at least pass on what their priorities are. Obviously, you guys are your own body. You can think about the priorities you have, but it is nice that they're sort of doing all the legwork for us. So, they're obviously having things catapulted that we have to deal with kind of changes their trajectory a little bit. So they're trying to figure out exactly what that looks like, understanding that there's probably only so much bandwidth to propose housing-related changes in any one town meeting cycle. So sort of figuring out what the priority is. And then as far as other town announcements, I think everyone is aware that Kim is, her days are numbered. She's retiring the end of the month. She does not want any sort of a party or gathering, but I would encourage you to submit a card if you saw the ad in the shopper last week. Feel free to send it. I honestly can't remember who it said to send it to, but you're more than welcome to drop it off to my mailbox, and I can make sure that she gets it if you are so inclined. And Ashley started this week, so she's busy sort of attending all sorts of meetings and trying to get her sea legs. We will start to talk about CIP in the next few weeks. We've already been having the discussions internally, department head-wise, so I'll get something out sooner rather than later. The wrench in the CIP game this year is going to be the forthcoming final of the building asset management system for all buildings and facilities. Sam and I have been reviewing this document for the last, I don't even know, 3 or 4 months. Obviously, this is the document that sort of catapulted Public Works into the spotlight. It's a 60-page, 11 by 17 Excel spreadsheet with like 20 lines per page. It has taken us a phenomenal amount of time to make it through. We have a lot of comments and concerns that we've gone back to Frank Anzalone with to make some changes. So we're waiting for those changes. I imagine there's going to be a little bit more back and forth with him. I have not totally wrapped my head around how we are incorporating this into the CIP, to be honest, because it is a lot of information. A lot of it falls under maintenance and not necessarily capital in nature. So Sam and I are going to have to really weed through it to figure out what are the capital projects. Do they fall in our 10-year scope? Because, of course, this plan goes out 30 years. I think it's 30 years, 2055. So we have to spend a lot of time whittling down the 60-page Excel workbook into the ones that you guys are actually concerned about with your sort of more narrow scope. So that's going to be an interesting part of the process this year. It's going to be complex, and I think will also garner a little bit more attention, possibly from the public, because obviously I think facilities right now are sort of at the top of people's minds. So just stay tuned on that. Hopefully we will have more in the next couple of weeks. Other than that, I don't think I have anything else.
Yeah, that's a lot. Any comments, questions from folks?
I have one announcement to make.
Please.
The RAND case was decided. This is regarding swept funds. We are charged a certain amount by the school district, and usually there's excess money. And the state was trying to get us to return it to the state, and we challenged that, but the Supreme Court ruled in our favor. So we're not losing the excess swept funds,
Good.
which is a good thing.
Yeah, good to hear.
Court case reminded me also, we don't have the sort of municipal association or synopsis yet. Once we do, I'll send it out. But the Conway court case regarding the donut mural and signage, I think we're going to have some work to do. I don't know that we will be able to accomplish that this zoning amendment season, because we may need to hire a signage-specific consultant. Signage is very complex, but we almost have the same definition as Conway. So I think we need to take a look at it.
And that's the improved upon one without any kind of messaging around content, right?
Right, and it reads something like any combination of symbols, numbers, vectors, whatever, conveying a message. And so basically what the court said is that it's so widely encompassing that it infringes on your free speech. And so, your business logo and sign may be very clearly a sign, but a mural that conveys what your business does is not necessarily a sign. So hopefully we'll get some guidance out of the municipal association and figure out how to go forward. There's some other things in the sign ordinance that are wonky, like temporary signs only require permits if someone complains to the selectmen. We don't typically follow that. People need to get temporary signs. However, we couldn't really enforce it if somebody only had one temporary sign, didn't have a sign permit, and nobody had complained to the selectmen. So there's some things like that we need to clean up, but we'll get there. So that's it.
Thank you, Adam. Thanks, everybody. I appreciate your patience tonight. I know this is challenging stuff, or can be. Thanks for coming next week without much notice. Is there a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Can I get a second? Okay, Charlene seconded. Thank you. All in favor? Aye. Thanks, everybody. Have a great night.